All right, good morning, everybody. You are such a sight for sore eyes because I haven't had you all together in one room for about a year and a half. It was August, I think, of 2017 when this ministry really just kind of got some energy behind it, some extra energy. We had wonderful hosts at the time. We had wonderful greeters. We called them greeters at the time. But there weren't enough of you. And look at what it takes to make this church a welcoming place. It takes all of you. We have 40 volunteers over the course of a month that cycle through, 10 on every Sabbath morning. That's a lot of wonderful people. So I just want to welcome you here today to our guest host training. I want to honor you and bless you for all of the service that you've done for me. I want to welcome those who are prospective hosts in the future. I'm grateful for you already, actually. And we just want to regroup, refocus, retrain, and really tighten up this ministry for our church. And towards the end of the presentation, I'll tell you why. There's some very critical reasons why. But first of all, let's just start with a quick blessing over our time together today. Please bow your heads. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for this very special group of people. We just commit ourselves to you. We commit this ministry to you. We want to see wonderful things happen because of it, and we will give you all the glory and all the honor. Bless our time together. May it be fulfilling and enriching and efficient. And I thank you, Jesus. Amen. So that was our welcome and introductions. We have, most of you who are sitting here in this middle section are my hosts already. You've been serving for anywhere from a year and a half to 6 months or so under this kind of current new leadership. And then around the back, I see a lot of new people who are checking us out today, who are going to learn about this ministry and decide whether this is something that's for them or not. We're missing a couple of folks today because they're out of town or they had prior commitments, but I am recording this training, and along with this slideshow, any new people who weren't here today can get caught up to speed on what our new year looks like. So first of all, appreciation. Again, happy Valentine's. I'm recording this too for those who weren't here today. I bought you roses, I bought you chocolate, just to show you how special you are to me this week. I'm so grateful for how you've changed the face and the arms and the welcoming atmosphere of this church by boosting up our numbers and now systematizing what we do so that nobody slips through the cracks. Well done. Well done, all of you. Now, it's not just the food today that I got for you. I also purchased a book. I spent my budget, my guest services budget. This is a wonderful book. It's a life-changing book. It's called Praying the Bible. Has anybody read this book yet in here? This is such a special book. It tells you, it trains you, it teaches you, it instructs you, it models for you how to pray the very words of Scripture back to God. And it makes your prayer life go through the roof. And I've got one for each of you who are my established hosts, and I'm keeping some aside for those who want to commit to becoming a host in the future. I ordered 50 of them, and Amazon Prime somehow lost them between here and Pennsylvania. Bless its heart. But 3 of them came in the mail. And so today, I am going to give 3 of them out. I wanted to inscribe in the front, but I didn't do that yet. A little note that says, thank you for adding value to my life, and I hope this book adds value to yours. So I would like to give one book to the guest services host, the greeter who has been serving at the Richardson Seventh-day Adventist Church for the most years. And I have an idea who that might be, but I'm going to let you tell me. Anybody has been, John, somebody says, has anybody been serving here longer than John Petchkaro? I'm just going to ask the question that way. As a host, anybody? That is for you, my brother. Thank you for your years of service. It means so much to this church. All right, now I would like to give another book to my oldest host. Sorry, it might be John too, but if it is, I'll give it to the next oldest. Don's older. Don, are you older than John? Okay, so just tell us where to start. Like 65. 76. You're 76. Anybody older than 76? How many people? Oh, you are not. You are not. I can tell. God bless you, Don. Thank you for contributing your years of wisdom to our team. All right, and now my youngest host. My youngest guest services host. Felicia, how old are you, baby? She's teasing. Never ask a woman her age. All right, let's just say 30-ish. Anybody 30? All right, who's the youngest? Just call your name out. Stop it, roll. Oh, Jessica's not here. Would you take this for her? I could love nothing more than giving it to a young person and changing her life. All right, so that's right. Jessica, how old is Jessica?
She's 15.
She's 15. Praise the Lord. Isn't that exciting to have a young person along with us? Very good. So I will have books for the rest of you. All right, so hang in there. We'll get them to you as soon as they come in. So our guest services hosts actually do a lot of different things. It's not just standing by the front door and handing out a bulletin, though that is kind of the primary face that you put on when you come to volunteer on a Sabbath. We also serve a security function, and I'm going to go into that in more depth in a few minutes. We identify visitors, and we get their contact information. This is really important. If there's one area we were kind of slipping a little bit, it's going to be this. So I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on this morning. We're going to accompany people, show them around, have a guest services mentality. What can I help you do today? How can I help you find your Sabbath school? Do you know your way to the sanctuary? Let me show you to the sanctuary. Let me help you find a seat. Okay, all of these things are very important in helping people find where they need to go and introducing them actually where we take them so they make new friends. We also assist. We problem solve. We troubleshoot. We are the church's man on the ground, besides obviously the deacons and deaconesses. I don't want to take anything away from them. These are fantastic people who shed their blood, sweat, and tears in this place. But on a Sabbath morning, they can't cover it all. And so we're kind of backup for them. We invite visitors to our guest services potluck. This is a relatively new addition. I think we've been doing this guest services potluck probably for about 6 or 7 months now. I can't really hunch it very well. I don't remember when we first started. But every Sabbath now at this church, there's a potluck for guests. And that's important. Our Sabbath schools are hosting those. And they're really the unsung heroes. There's always a place for someone to go to eat on a Sabbath at the Richardson Seventh-day Adventist Church. And then a new thing that we're adding, we're going to staff the guest services counter, that L-shaped counter in the lobby. We want to make that guest services. We're going to staff that and give a gift to people who come for first time. So those are some new things that we're trying to do. So again, your main job is to be that welcoming face, that good morning hug, that warm handshake, hand over a bulletin, and have somebody to meet people when they come in first thing on a Sabbath morning. There's nothing nicer to be here at 8:45 or 8:40 even if you get here early and have somebody waiting to meet you in the lobby and not walk into just kind of dead airspace. It's really lovely to have a warm and smiling face there. Please don't get caught up in conversations with our regular members. That's very hard to do, or hard not to do. I am going to try to get some sort of name tag or label that says, I'm on duty, okay? I mean, it tells them. It won't say I'm on duty, but it will say to everybody who wants to come hover around you, and I know Sibu's not here today. Sibu is the social butterfly of all butterflies, and she resigned as a host because she had other Sabbath school commitments, but she came and told me, I can't be in the main foyer. I'm just talking to too many people continually. So she wanted me to send her over here to Siberia on the west entrance where she wouldn't get so involved with all these wonderful people who wanted to talk to her. All right, our security element. We do have a security team here, and I'm going to list those names for you, but they can't be eyes on everything here at our church on a Sabbath morning. There's too many people coming and going in groups and with children, and it's just crazy. And so you are a pair of eyes at that door to observe. And you want to be diligent. That's why we don't want you also engaged in conversations over here, because you might miss a very interesting individual that walks right past you into the church. And in my tenure, we have had some interesting individuals who have walked into this church. We've had people that are seeking financial assistance. That's okay, but not when they start casing the joint. All right? We've had people who wanted money for really wrong reasons. We've had people who we were found in places they shouldn't have been by themselves. We've seen people who were looking through all the children's classrooms when nobody was down there. So we need to have eyes on the ground for anything that looks suspicious. Observe people and the environment continuously and purposefully. It's very easy to forget this, but just stay awake on the job, please. Look at their hands. What are they carrying? Look at their eyes. Look at their general appearance. Watch to see if your co-host is engaged with somebody who might be a little curious in what they're up to. Your second job, besides observing, is to assess any potential for harm. Is this person unusually overly emotional? Are they crying? Are they raging? Are they nervous? Are they laughing a little bit too loud? Are they completely flat affect? Are they completely emotionless? Trust your gut. A lot of you have many years of wisdom and under your belt, and you've met a lot of people. What doesn't feel right about this person? Something's making me feel iffy. Watch their behavior. Look for people who run up to the front doors really quick, or people who are walking up looking like they're checking around to see what's going on or if anybody sees them. If they look like they're trying to slip by unnoticed, pay attention to that. If they're walking awkwardly, like they might be concealing a weapon on them. If they're intoxicated, drugged, flustered, or confused, obviously all of these are a warning sign to you. If they are angry when you ask them, hey, how are you doing today? Can I help you find a Sabbath school class? Oh, no, I don't need you. I've had somebody speak to me like that. Nope, and just walk right on by like I didn't even exist. And that ended up being a person of concern, actually. If they are doing something that doesn't fit with the church service at that time, this is really highly irregular. If they're going into the children's wing or other areas that are abandoned instead of going into the sanctuary. If they have military dress on and it's not Veterans Sabbath, or it's out of place for some reason, or camouflage, or other clothes that are, pulled down hoodie. Every now and then we'll see a kid come in with a hoodie and they're just a normal kid. But if it's an older guy with this, he's covering his face, long dark coats that might conceal something, a bulging backpack, or maybe even bulky clothes on a slender person. So it looks like there's something under all of those clothes, but not the person. Now, you don't have to tackle this person, put them on the ground, and hold a gun to her head. That's not your job, right? You don't have to go run screaming through the church either. You just need to get help. And that means you need to try to come and find one of our deacons or one of our security team. Now, if you feel really uncomfortable with this person, don't leave the other host alone with them. Maybe you could all just say, hey, we're going to walk you towards the sanctuary. But you want to find a deacon. They're often in the back of the church. We have a security team that's on constant rotation throughout the church building. They have a radio in their ear. That's a signal. You'll see a little black cord coming down. That's one of our security team members. You just need to find them and alert them. You could also tell an elder or a pastor, of course. These are people you need to get word to. And then if possible, maybe one host can go get help if they're not that dangerous, and another can kind of keep a distant eye on them to know where they are in the building. That's helpful too. Did they just go down the children's wing? Are they hiding behind the stage? I think we found some guy back there behind the stage in the dark once that wasn't supposed to be there. So our security team is headed by Jason Allen, and you all know Jason. We've got Lee Batten, most of you know Lee. Walter Carrick, Doug Petchcaro, Aaron Garza, Brent Gary, Antoine Jones, Al Lewis, and Chun Cho. And please also know that our security team knows who in our congregation is also carrying a weapon if need be. We do have people in our church service and in the hallways, sometimes walking around, that are armed in case we need it. So if you see anything that doesn't make you comfortable, please get word to our security team or to a deacon. And if it's really obviously a bad problem, you need to call 911. And if you're ever like, okay, do I call 911? Do I find a deacon? Do I not call 911? Because what if I'm not right? Always err on the side of calling 911 if you need to. Yes, Wes?
Call 911, what are you going to tell them?
Well, I mean, this is if somebody's got a...
What I'm asking is how many know the address to this place?
Oh, very good question. All right, your assignment is to go home and memorize the street address for our church. Very nice. Yes, Patrick.
Okay, when you call 911, one, they can pick up probably where you're at.
That may help too.
System,
Okay.
cell phone.
It's still good though to know it by heart.
You tell them the establishment name, Richardson Seventh-day Adventist Church. They have it in their system.
They should be able to find it. Okay.
They don't have it in their system. They got a problem.
Right. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Patrick. All right.
And then tell them main entrance. Or
Okay. Right. West entrance, main entrance, and of course, find help too on the ground as soon as you've got 911 taken care of if you can. But of course, this is a worst case scenario where hope these things never ever will happen. So the next thing that we do that's very important as guest services hosts is that we identify who visitors are. Now this is always a little bit awkward, but I really need you to be positively assertive in a friendly way. And here's kind of how I do it. If I don't recognize somebody, and I will tell you, there are still people I don't recognize at this church, and I stick my foot in my mouth about once a month, okay? I'll say, hi, I'm Constance, I don't recognize you. And they'll say, I've been here for 25 years. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I just don't know your name yet. This happens all the time. But it's still better than letting a visitor slip through the cracks, okay? So I'll shake their hand, and then I'll say, well, you know, is this your first Sabbath here, or where are you visiting from? And if they say, I'm from, you know, Timbuktu, and I'm just here to visit my family for the weekend, then I will say, okay, well, let me help you find your Sabbath school class. And I will show them where they need to go. They're only here for the weekend. We want to treat them, obviously, beautifully and helpfully, but they're less interesting to us than the person who is checking us out as a possible church family.
Flip that, because what I usually do, if I don't know who they are, say, can I help you find your Sabbath school class? And if they say no,
Then you know. That's right.
they need help.
Very clever. Wes has got a nice way he does that. John?
Another way too is to ask someone, how long have you been attending here?
Yes, that's an excellent suggestion. Thank you for both of those ideas. That's true. In case the mic didn't pick it up, you could say, can I help you find your Sabbath school class? And if they say no, like I know where I'm going, then you know they've been here a while. Or you can say, how long have you been attending Richardson? That's a really nice intro. And if they say, well, this is only my second Sabbath, then you've got a real keeper there on your hands. So if they're local, if they just moved to Dallas, they're from Frisco, they're from around here somewhere, Mesquite, then they're a person of interest to us. And that's when we were going to try to get a blue communications card on them and then assist as needed. So this blue communications card can really seem like this is really inconvenient, okay? Because I'm trying to get them to the sanctuary because the church has already started. Sorry, these ladies have to go help with potluck. Thank you for coming. Not that one, though. I know I'm teasing you. I'm just teasing her. That was Verity. Like, you might be in a rush, or they need to go to the bathroom, or it's already, 10:20 and their kid needs to be in Sabbath school class. So what I try to do is grab a card and talk to them on the way. And so I was going to role play, but actually since it's almost noon, I won't do this role play right now, but I'll just tell you kind of what it looks like. I'll say, all right, as I'm walking, hey, can I just have your name and phone number? All we need is a name and a phone number. And if you have time, get their email. So if they're, they look like they're chatty and they want to tell you their life story, get as much as you can. But if you're rushing to go somewhere, then what you're going to want to get is just a name and a phone number from them, and just say, and you can even do the writing as you're walking. All right, and I have these blue communication cards. Thank you, Felicia, for coming. I have them all over the church now, okay? We've got 3 locations for these blue communication cards. They're above the literature rack in the lobby. Oh no, my pictures aren't turning. I turned here. Maybe I came undone. Okay, freeze everybody. Maybe my adapter came undone. Oh, I got separated from the, did I get separated? Where did Sven go when I need him? Oh, okay, do you mind looking for him, Emeka? Thank you, because all of a sudden I'm not tracking with the projector like I should be. So let me, I'm going the wrong direction. Oh, I can go backwards. Okay, so that's what's up there. All right, so I'll just say, hey, can you tell me your name as I'm writing rapidly as we walk along, and a quick cell phone number, and then I tell them why, because I don't want them to think I'm stalking them. I'll just say, our pastors really like to give you a little welcome call after someone has come and visited us. I'm just honest about it. I'm straight up about it. If they don't want a phone call, they can tell me. And if they don't want to give me their information, they can tell me that too. I'll say, okay, no problem, thanks anyway, and show them to where they need to go. So these blue communication cards are really critical. Now, once you, and you'll see this in your notes, if you want to follow along in your notes, since our slides are a little bit behind. Once you have got the card and they're safely at their classroom, I always write some notes on there. Just moved to Dallas. I'm sorry, I'm not tracking with the, thingy anymore.
The thingy, huh?
Yeah, the thingy. The thingamagummy. Dujamahiki. I always write notes because the pastor, when he calls them a week later, it's nice for him to have some background information. Just moved to Dallas, former Pathfinder leader. What pastor doesn't want to hear that, right? Or Brand new, never been to an Adventist church before. That is important information for the pastor to know before he makes this phone call. All right? Has 2 kids, divorced, anything that you just kind of picked up in your friendly conversation that will help the pastor be more sensitive on his phone call with them. What we don't want is the pastor accidentally sticking his foot in his mouth because he doesn't know, that she just lost her husband and she's grieving. And he says, well, what's your husband's name? So I always write some notes on top of the blue communication card to give the pastors a leg up when they have to call this person. So the next thing on our list here, I'm just going to borrow this while we're going. Okay, so we have these 3 locations, all right, for these blue communication boxes.
Observation here. On this blue communication card, I just see the picture there and it says tithe offerings and request. Isn't that almost a sign to anyone breaking in here, smash me?
Oh, that's the offering boxes. Those are really strong boxes. I think it's going to be okay. They empty them out, I think, right after the church service, I'm guessing, yes. So of interest to you there is not so much that strong box, but rather the brochures right next to it on the wall. Sorry, they're hard to see. So these 3 locations are in the main lobby, right there next to the Turn in Your Offering box. And there's both tithe offerings, pens, and the blue communication cards. We've just established them right here at the west entrance, so there's no excuse not to get a blue communications card on somebody coming through the west entrance. And also right next to Jessica's office and Pastor Byron's office on the wall. So you could meet them here, forget the blue communication card, be walking past Pastor Byron's office and grab one as you walk past on the way to the sanctuary. So we have made every provision for you to do your best to get the contact information for true interests of this congregation as you may. All right, now when you filled out this card, what do you do with it? Well, Pastor Sven just requested a mailbox to be hung on the wall right outside the door to his office. So it used to be I'd tuck them in my purse. They would be, in Byron's coat pocket, the breast pocket of his suit jacket. Now we have a place to put them in real time. So just swing by Pastor Sven's office and you can drop it into, and there's a picture of the mailbox right there. It says, please don't put any money in this box. And that's where you're going to drop that blue communications card. And he'll check that. I've already put one in there today, Pastor Sven. So that's exciting. Yay. All right. Now, if those get low and I happen to not be around, in the L-shaped counter in the foyer, there are refills of the pens, the blue communications cards, and the offering envelopes. And so just be Johnny on the spot for me, please, and get those filled in again. Sorry, I'm standing right in front of the screen. All right, let's move on to directing visitors to where they need to go. This is another important function. Yay, did you do it? You did it. You are so awesome, Pastor Sven. Whew. He's a Renaissance man, let me tell you. Thank you so much. There's the beautiful brand new box right outside his office. Yes, thank you, John Petchkaro.
Freddie.
Oh, thank you, Freddie.
Well, it was a joint effort.
That's right. So there you go. You can see there's all the refills in the L-shaped counter for you. I came on Thursday, I think, and cleaned that out with my daughters. You bet you could eat off of that right now. Okay, so now we have specifically planned to have 2 hosts, 2 or 3 at each entrance for this very reason, not just for security, not just to handle all the bulk during rush hour, but also to allow one of you, if needed, to be able to escort people to their Sabbath school classes. This is a really important function because there's nothing worse than just saying, Happy Sabbath, here's a bulletin, and then they move on to someone else and you're just kind of left, okay, where do I go now? You want to take them to their classroom. And I'm going to show you a map in just a minute of the whole church, so you're going to know where these classrooms are. But please take time on your own. If you're not so familiar with this church like the back of your hand, that you can't take someone directly to the collegiate Sabbath school class. I want you to be able to do that directly to the kindergarten Sabbath school class. So that's another homework assignment besides memorizing the church address, and probably even the church phone number if you needed it, but just to be able to take people directly where they need to go. Yes, Wes?
Do you have the list of the Spanish class?
I do. I'll show you in just a second. I'll show you in just a heartbeat. So now the beginners and kindergarten Sabbath schools, those are our little tiny tots. They do need an adult to stay there. And I always try to tell them that instead of them just shunting their strange child off into the Sabbath school and going off the opposite direction. They do need a mommy or daddy to stay with the child. Please tell the parents to come back and get their kids at 11:10 a.m. There's nothing worse for a strange child than being left alone in a Sabbath school classroom and mommy and daddy are nowhere in sight and they don't know where they are. Their parents need to come get them by 11:10 a.m. and that works for everybody. Introduce the child or the adult by name to the Sabbath school class teacher. This is a really lovely feature. Hi, this is Tommy. He's visiting from Miami. Or this is Carol. This is her first Sabbath here. It's just nice to throw in that little touch for the teacher. Then the teacher cues in, wow, I need to take special care of this person. Okay? All right, so here's a map of our church. Just a quick overview of what it looks like in case you haven't spent a lot of time. This is the children's wing. We've got Dr. Blackburn in the class where we're sitting now. And you go down the hall, you've got juniors, beginners 1 and 2. Those are the tiny babies, tiniest babies. Kindergarten, and then primary 1, primary 2. These are right next door to each other. There is signage outside the doors of the Sabbath school classroom that will give you a hint what age and what grades are inside that room. So that's the children's division. Oops, sorry. Now here's the main sanctuary and the classrooms around it. We have women's ministry and Ali Amwini and his tribe down there. They're such a great family. In fact, I'm just going to be very frank with you. I try to assess the person I'm looking at, and if it looks like they just recently moved over from East Africa, Ali Amwini's class is full of the most beautiful East African people, and they would make them feel so welcome there. In fact, I think they have a Friday night group where they get together with people who have newly moved to the Dallas area and are from their region of the world. And so if you feel like, hey, these folks would fit really well in Ollie's class, then take them, say, hey, I've got a class that you might really like, and take them to Amwini's class. We have Lubisic and Itufu there in the main sanctuary up on the stage. That's a really nice class to take newbies to too, first-time visitors, because it's easy to get to, and they're right there ready for second service. Okay, and that's a lovely class. We also, and a great teacher, I love the teacher in there. We've got Steve Boyd. That is a new members class. This is for people who are brand new to Adventism. It's a fun class. It's a spunky class. There's a lot of discussion in there. It would be a safe place to take somebody who's brand new to Adventism. I just dropped a lady off there this morning. This was her first Sabbath ever. She's a Sunday-keeping Christian, walked through the doors of our church. And then we have the Bassam Charlton class. This is a wonderful class, well-established. Folks have been there for a lot of years. There's a sweet, warm atmosphere there too. So, you assess the person you're looking at and suggest maybe that class for them. And maybe say a little prayer and ask the Lord to lead you. But always, Steve Boyd's is a good bet for people who are brand new to Adventist, never been into an Adventist church before. And of course, the women's ministry is a wonderful atmosphere. I almost took this lady to the women's ministry classroom too, because it's such a warm and welcoming class group made of all women. So sometimes it's hard to pick. We have so many great Sabbath school classrooms, but that is a basic overview of all those. They're all excellent. It's so hard to decide sometimes.
Also in this wing here, you didn't point out the Spanish class.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And that was what Wes, okay, do you see it here? I am so sorry. They're in this little classroom right here. Forgive me, I really wanted to point this out to you because we do have Spanish-speaking visitors that come quite frequently. This is really important. Now up in here, that's our Congolese Rwandan group. Kenya Rwandan. So if you have folks come in very traditional dress and they don't speak any English and they have their head wrapped up in a pretty scarf, that's probably where they may be heading because that group is growing and they have a really nice fellowship. So that might be a question to ask them. Are you looking for the Kenya Rwandan group? And then you know to take them to the old fellowship hall right out the doors here where we are.
Just a quick one on Kenya Rwanda. The Kenya Rwanda is a language, right? But they come from several countries: Rwanda, Uganda, Congo, that area, kind of Central Eastern Africa. And so it's K-I-N-Y-A, Rwanda, and it's not Kenya.
Sorry.
Country, it's Kenya.
Kenya. Thank you for clarifying. That's excellent to have that clarification.
Portuguese.
Oh, wow. Is the Portuguese Sabbath School class continuing?
Yes.
I should have had that on the map. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you for clarifying that. Let me show you where that is on the map. Isn't it just right back kind of in here of the sanctuary? Yes, we have a Portuguese Sabbath School class there too. Thank you. I forgot that. So I will add that to my list. That's a wonderful Sabbath School class too, a very sweet fellowship. All right, now here we are over in the Family Life Center. The collegiates are here kind of out in the main space. So anybody, that's going to college, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior age, maybe a little older. DeVos Woolfolk is a wonderful, studious class. They've been together for quite some time. Then there's a young adult class called Cross Connections. I think it's older young adult, isn't it?
Yes, we call it cross connection. We don't call it young adult anymore.
Okay.
Because they're not. Ages there run from about 35 to 55.
Okay. Professionals. There are a lot of professionals in there.
Working professionals.
Yeah, working professionals. Yeah. And then obviously youth and the early teens. Early teens are grades 7 and 8. Youth is high school age. You'll have to kind of memorize those because there isn't signage so much for those classrooms. So take note of them. Yes?
I have two questions. Have you ever considered having a guest services person stationed in the Family Life Center for someone that may go there instead of entering in at the sanctuary?
That is a really good idea. Plus to be eyes on the ground too. So we should help me take note of that. We need to look into that. Thank you. And your second question?
And the second question is, I know that you have like two stationary places where you have a guest services person. Also, have you considered having someone that's walking the halls, maybe catch a note of someone that may have slipped past the door but is in the hallway looking lost?
Sure. I mean, that's a great idea. We have lacked staff. We don't have staff to do everything we'd like to, but we have a lot of great people here today, so maybe we can do some of those things now. Thank you. No, those are great ideas. I love them. All right. So that's directing visitors. All right. Assisting in problem solving. This is something that we also try to do. We're here to be a blessing to our church members and to visitors. We don't want to forget our church members. They're so important to us. And if we can help them in any way, we'd like to do that. It's nice to find seats. If you're in the main foyer and you have visitors that come and they're really late and you just know that it's hot and packed inside that sanctuary, it's really nice if you can have them find a place to sit, help them find a place to sit. And so I'll go to one of the outside doors. I'll have them wait there. I will look inside and survey what it looks like. I've even asked people to move. I had a little elderly couple, and I had to ask a very willing young person, a couple of young people sitting in the back, if I could have their seats, and they did. They moved for me. Or I'll go down to the very front where there's often room, and then I'll help them find a place to sit. It's just such a nice courtesy in second service. And here's another little tip. If I have visitors that come in at Sabbath school time, I'll just look at them and I'll say, I just need to let you know, second service gets really full really quick. And if you can come find yourself a spot to sit, you're going to be ahead of the game. So I always try to give them those little tips to be helpful and make their experience here better. And if they don't want to come dragging in and try to find a seat as a stranger in an already crowded church.
As far as finding a seat too, the deacons will help you usher people in.
Yes, thanks.
Especially when it's full, they'll have a couple of deacons on the side doors, and you can.
Thank you. That's even better.
But don't leave the visitors there. Make sure that the usher is taking care of the visitors.
Yes.
So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Make sure that it all gets taken care of. Very good. We have done everything for looking for missing children. One Sabbath, we had a 2-year-old go missing. I tell you, that was terrifying. We finally found them happily sitting in the kindergarten Sabbath school room. Yes, please.
On the security, we don't want to be mean to our members, but we are working on an education process here. People are coming from various cultures, and they don't understand the temperature in our area of the world. You cannot let your child walk around the church by themselves. This is not because we don't like your kid. It is because there is a risk that someone will come in and snatch your child. Mm-hmm. This is a security issue. Please, any child under the age of 12 should not be walking alone or with only children under the age of 12. If you see a child under the age of 12 walk around by themselves, smile to them, grab them by the hand and says, "Where's your mommy and daddy?" And then take them to them and kindly says, "Please be careful with your children. I saw them roaming alone in the hallway. We have security cameras, but they are primarily for break-ins and so on. They are not for internal use, as in finding kids and so on. It is heartbreaking. We lose one child, that could mean the bars on our doors, because it's about confidence. So when you see young children around, smile to them, don't yell at anybody. just think of it as a safety thing, and try to find their parents and connect them up with their parents, because there are places where you can just drop your kid off on Sabbath morning and go to another church and come back at 3 o'clock and pick up your kid again. We are not in that kind of climate anymore. I wish we were. And some cultures have the village raises my child. You know, this is not our culture, and there are people that take advantage of that. So please be vigilant on these children.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Pastor Sven. That is so timely and so very, very true. If you have a chance, sit in on different Sabbath school classrooms. Get the culture of that room. See where the kids are. Peek in through the window. See who's teaching, what the dynamic is. Get to know this church so that you can make new people feel really welcome. That's our assisting in problem solving. All right. We also want to be sure and invite them to our guest potluck. Now, this is a little bit hard when they come for first service in Sabbath school, and you know they're probably going to take off, but I still mention it to them anyway. If you want to stay, we have a guest potluck just for you after second service in the Family Life Center. Always, always, always invite them to lunch. This has been a real boon for our church and for our visitors, and we want to share the blessing. Now, the children's activity bags, which are in 2 tubs under that low desk, we do kind of keep an eye on that process. We've asked the congregation to have parents come and sign them out and sign them back in. We have all kinds of ages coming to grab bags, but at least we're trying to keep these bags better together and keep them maintained and make sure they're just not run amok all over the church. So that binder is sitting out there, and you can keep an eye on that process. I'll try to tighten up that in the future. But for now, that is one, if you're in the foyer, that is one of your responsibilities, just to keep an eye on that process. Please ask the parents to bring the bags back in a tidy condition if you happen to see them checking those out. And finally, the guest services counter. That's the L-shaped counter in the foyer. I got the thing cleaned out. You can't believe the things I found in that cabinet. But at any rate, starting later this month, we're going to have a circulating slide up at the front of the church that says, if you're visiting here today, we have a free gift for you. Stop by the guest services counter in the lobby. The announcement will also be in the church bulletin. What this does for us is 2 things. It welcomes people, makes them feel special, but it also captures those folks that we might have missed. Maybe they slipped in during the rush. Maybe we didn't see them come in a side door. Here's another way to back up our plan to get information, a blue communications card on every visitor that comes through our church that is a potential member. If they're just coming from, again, if they're coming from Seattle and they're coming for a conference, continuing medical education, and they're just in town, give them a bag, give them a warm hug, but obviously we want to see them back again someday, but they're not going to be coming on a regular basis. So you need to watch, if you're posted in the lobby, you need to watch out if somebody comes and stands at the counter. So, and I may even have on the schedule someone that says guest services counter, and that just means your job is to hover near that counter. So we will have a free shopping bag. It's really attractive. It's very useful. It's got our logo on it. They're going to get a free pen, and any literature that you see stacked there, as you pull the bag out, start shoving those things inside and give them the bag. Another thing that this bag does for us is when it's hanging on the arm of somebody walking through our church, what does it scream? Visitor, visitor. So I hope you, even if you're not on staff, will sidle up to that person and say, hey, we're so glad you came here today. Welcome. Are you coming to potluck? I'm coming to potluck, or whatever you want to do to just be warm and friendly. Okay? So that's going to be there in that counter, and we'll try to keep that fully supplied for visitors when they come. Yes, Lorraine.
Just a question. So if once they go in the sanctuary, they have already filled out a card and we didn't know they have.
Sure.
If you're one out inside and didn't bring it out with them, should we ask them again?
Yeah, just check out and say, hey, has anybody got your contact information? I'd love to have your name and number. It's just real brief. It doesn't have to be a heavy-duty appeal.
Okay.
Yeah, just check, because we may or may not have that information. Yes.
The pens will be just over there, or we're gonna have some here too?
The gift bags are only in the pens are in all 3 stations. Yes, to fill out a blue communications card, I will have pens there for you.
For future thought,
Uh-huh.
you might want to start thinking the church about getting a QRC scan, because the millennials are now not giving out business cards. You scan their QRC and you get all their information.
Oh, wow, a QRC scan. Wes Miller suggested that. I don't even know what that is. That just shows you how out of touch I am.
You gotta have a bunch of millennials working for you to really.
There you go. I need to go cultivate those young adults and those collegiates.
That big square would look like it's.
Oh, yeah.
That's called a QRC.
And so you just say, hey, babe, can I have your QRC? That's what we say. Oh, you're kidding? I am so amazed. Okay.
You have to have it on your phone.
Okay, you have to have an app on my phone to get your QRC. Right on. All right. You're going to have to coach me through that one, Wes. I'm a little old-fashioned. All right, very good. So let's talk about this is just mainly a summary. Most of you know this, but for our people who are checking out this ministry today, we have 2 shifts, the first and second shift. The first shift does start at 8:45. I've been late myself, but try to be here by 8:45 at your station, and it ends around 10:45 when your replacement comes. The second shift is from 10:45 a.m. until about 11:45 if you're at this entrance, which I'll explain to you more in a minute, and about 12:45 until the end of the church service in the main foyer, especially if we have guests coming out of the sermon who didn't have a chance to come get their free bag. I'd like at least somebody in the lobby to watch for visitors as they exit after the church service. I schedule you for continuity always the same Sabbath, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th of the month. Well, 5th is random, okay? You will notice that's a little fruit basket upset. If there happens to be a 5th Sabbath in the month, I just scramble you all up and I throw you in there randomly. So you might be first service, you might be second, or shift, I'm sorry. Please just be gracious about that. It only happens once every 3 months. All right, you don't even have, probably won't do it but once every 6 months on those 5th Sabbaths. But you always know I'm the first Sabbath of the month, first shift. That's to help you, as to have less people missing their shift. I also try to send a text reminder by Wednesday. Sometimes it doesn't get to you later, but to remind you, you're on duty tomorrow morning during the first or second shift. So those are the 2 shifts. They're only once a month, okay? But it is an important commitment for that once a month. A copy of the schedule is always hanging there on that little clip in the L-shaped counter, the guest services counter, if you forgot where you're supposed to be. All right, so there it is if you need it. Dress code, because we are considered leadership in this church. We are volunteers. We are the part of the leadership. We ask you that you have skirts to the knee, please, and refrain from wearing jewelry, as we are representative of this Seventh-day Adventist church. So all Christian modesty, please. If you can't serve for some weekend, please don't call me and say, I can't come. I cannot manage all 40 of you finding your replacements. It would I would pull all my gray hair out. I'd turn grayer than I'm already gray. So I do ask you to find your replacement. Now, we do have sometimes people just don't show up, okay? When I send you the schedule, it has a 2-page roster of all the other guest services hosts with their phone number, their cell phone, and their email. So please, now don't do this. I'll tell you what doesn't work. Do not just group text all 40 people and say, I need someone to cover for me this weekend. Because everybody's going to think, oh, somebody else is going to do that. I just know it doesn't work. So what you need to do is reach out to a friend, somebody you know, or somebody in particular, and say, can I trade shifts with you? It works better to trade. I find if you just say, will you cover my shift and your shift next week, that doesn't work so well. But if you'll say, will you trade with me? People are usually very willing to do that. Now, you can let me know that you've swapped with somebody if you want to. You don't have to. I'm just more interested that a warm body is there. That I have 2 warm bodies here and 3 warm bodies in the foyer. okay, like clockwork, without a gap or without a hole. Because what usually happens is I have to step in. And sometimes I don't even get to go to the worship service because I'm trying to fill all these holes. I don't want to have to do that anymore. I have lots of trustworthy people, and I'd like you to find your replacement. Now, when I text you that reminder on Wednesday, hey, you're on duty this weekend, all you have to do is shunt that reminder to who you've got taking your place. Okay? They need to be reminded that they're on duty. So just forward that text to them so that they're reminded that they're taking a Sabbath for you. And that would just bless my life incredibly if you would do that. Thank you so much. All right. So one of the security measures that has been introduced here at Richardson in the recent months is that we've decided to limit the traffic at this entrance later in the service. It just keeps less people flowing and sloshing through when maybe there isn't as much manpower at this part of the building. So if you are scheduled on this side, and by the way, I do rotate every quarter. I shift you back and forth between locations, not shifts, not Sabbaths, but locations. Because you will meet people and make friends here that you won't meet coming through the front entrance. There's a whole different group of people that come through this entrance, and I want you to know them. And then you'll be better able to recognize who's a visitor and who isn't. So I do move you back and forth between locations. But if you're scheduled here at the west entrance, this door can be locked at 11:45, which means for some of you, you get to actually go to church because your shift is then over. Here's how this works. I'm going to shut that door so not everybody hears this. Yes, okay. In this glass cabinet right across from this entrance, there is a little Allen wrench hidden there along the metal edge. You can't even see it unless you were looking for it. I stuck it out into the opening so you could see it. It's on the right-hand side. You slide the glass open and you grab this Allen wrench. The door looks like this when it's locked open. This bar is pressed in. You're going to insert the Allen wrench into this hole that you see right here. You're going to turn it. Sometimes you have to press the bar in a little bit to get things to move. And you're going to turn it until the bar pops open. Now that door is now locked. You know, jiggle it, make sure, maybe test it from the outside. And you need to do that to both doors, both of the glass doors, right and left. That will lock those doors at 11:45. And sometimes our security team goes around and locks them too. But if you want to, you may do it yourself. Test them to make sure they're locked. Hide the key back, the Allen wrench back. And then you may go on your way or to church service if you went to first, or go home, or whatever it is. Yes, Don?
I have a comment on that, though.
Yes.
Once you lock that door, and I've tested this, I've stood there to see what's going to happen for the next half hour, whatever time.
Okay.
And invariably, I mean, almost every time I've done it, the door's locked, you're standing there, and someone comes up, they'll knock on the window, someone in this fellowship hall will go over and open the door.
Oh, okay. Well, usually by that late, I think the Kenya Rwandans are gone, aren't they, by 11:45 or noon? It's just people wandering around. Okay. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to put a laminated notice on the door, both inside and out, that says this door is to be locked by 11:45 a.m. Please direct everyone to the front. So thank you. That's an excellent suggestion. All right. So why do we do all of this? Why all this effort? Why all of this work? We are actually one part of a cog in a very important machinery at the Richardson Seventh-day Adventist Church. And this is because our goal is to help take first-time visitors and facilitate them becoming full-on, fully involved, fully engaged members of the Richardson Seventh-day Adventist Church. We do this by warmly welcoming them, inviting them to potluck, making sure they're escorted where they need to go, leaving that positive first impression. You know, a person's impression of a church can be formed like in the first 8 minutes before they've ever heard the sermon. Did you realize that? Research shows that. We don't have a lot of time to convince people that this is the kind of place where they want to be, and they haven't even heard Pastor Byron's rip-roaring message. Or like the message on forgiveness today, it was beautiful. So they're making those first-time impressions, and they're very critical for them. Then, because of the blue communications card that you all got on this person with your little handwritten notes on there, if you can get them in there, that's fine. If you don't know anything, that's fine too. Just turn in the card. They are going to get a phone call from one of our pastoral staff that says, hey, we're so glad that you came through. You know, they'll pray with them, they'll talk with them, they'll invite them back again. Now, if they're an established Seventh-day Adventist, they'll go through it and they like it here and they've attended for a while. They'll request to have their membership transferred. They will go to a, what is it called? A membership orientation class, new member orientation class, and then they're voted into membership and they become a part and parcel of our congregation. If they're a non-Adventist, and hopefully they invited back and they start attending, they'll be invited to consider taking Bible studies. And one of our pastors will start Bible studies with them, or one of our laity, and hopefully they'll decide for baptism. Then they will go through that process, go to the new member orientation, and then be voted in for membership after they're baptized. So there's definitely a process here for moving people through these ranks into our family membership. These new members are also given at some point along this process a spiritual gifts inventory where it is discovered what their gifts are and what they're good at. And then Pastor Sven's job, if I'm not mistaken, is to hand those names and contact information over to different ministries like this one. And I think I may have invited some of our new members. I think, what's your name in the back again? Yes, Celestine. You've been coming for a long time, but you recently became a new member, right? Or had your membership transferred. Isn't that right? Just recently? And so your name was given to me as someone to join this ministry, and I'm so excited that you're here today. So it works. We're going to shunt these people into different ministries, and they're going to have purpose in their life, and they're going to have friends, and they're going to be discipled. And, praise God, they're going to be in heaven someday, perhaps, if they're brand new to this message. And even if they're old to the message, it's still important that they have a church family and a place to belong. So it's a really important process. So I just want to tell you several quick stories. Some of you have heard these stories before, so just forgive me for them. But I have to tell you about Jamie. Jamie was a friend, a woman that I met back in Spokane when I was part of the guest ministry there. And I was brand new to guest services, but my husband had given me this task to try to reinvigorate the program, and I'd done a bunch of reading. And I realized, wow, this is more than just a bulletin and a hello on Sabbath morning. And so one morning, this woman walked in through the doors of our church, and there was kind of an older gentleman who'd been greeting for a million years, and he handed her a bulletin and smiled warmly and shook her hand and then promptly turned to talk to somebody else. So here she is wandering through the lobby looking really lost. And fortunately, it was a God thing. And I just give God all the credit that I happened to be there. And I had just done this study about what it means, this greeting or guest services ministry means. And I said, hi, my name's Constance. Are you visiting? And she had her son with her. And she said, yes, this is our first Sabbath here. And I said, well, welcome. Let me show you to your son's Sabbath school class. So we walked down the hall. I found out his name was Austin, introduced him to the teacher. I was walking back to the main lobby to find a Sabbath school class for her. And I said, I can't remember exactly how I prefaced this, but came to find out, she said, this is my first, this story always makes me cry. This is my first Sabbath back in church for 15 years. And I just threw my arms around her and I gave her the biggest hug and I said, let me be the first person to welcome you back. And she was just so touched by that. And then I waited in the foyer for her afterwards and I said, bye, Jamie. I hope you come back again. And sure enough, she came back the next Sabbath and the next. And I'd already made a friendship for it with her and I was watching for her now. And she became a really established part of our congregation. She started hosting, come to find out, I called her the Flavor Meister. She was this amazing vegan cook. So she held classes that have 30 or 40 people. They were sold out. Her food was so fantastic. It was all vegan tofu. She could do things with tofu that just boggle your mind. And she got rebaptized and her husband got baptized and her son got baptized. And it was just the most beautiful story of what can happen in just one interaction. Well, here's the backstory I didn't realize about. It was 2.5 years later, I'm at a cooking class and I overhear Jamie telling one of her participants a story. And she said, the day I came to this church, I sat out in the parking lot and I told God, if I don't like how I'm treated here, I'm never coming back to church, ever. And she walked in that day and I bumped into her a few minutes later. What if? What if? Doesn't that make you sick? To think what would have happened if she hadn't been loved on, if she hadn't been embraced, if she hadn't been welcomed, if her name hadn't been learned, if her son hadn't been shown to his class. What might have happened to that woman and her family? This job is so important. I can't tell you how important it is. The lady in blue, when I had just been here, I was helping out in kindergarten Sabbath school class, and so I didn't get out into the main foyer once, but one day I saw a lady all dressed in blue, very elegant lady, sitting on the bench, and I sat down next to her and I said, "Hi, are you visiting?" She said, "Yeah, I've been coming for about 3 weeks. You're the first person that's talked to me." And I said, "Oh, this is a really friendly church." And that's when I began to realize we just don't have enough greeters. We have so many people sloshing through our doors every week. We just don't have enough people to cover them all. And so that was kind of the inspiration for really pouring a lot of intentionality and fuel and energy and passion into this guest services ministry. And so I really appreciate that lady. And you know what? She comes back every now and then, about once a year, to visit kids in the area. And she always comes and finds me. And she's always greeted at the door. And she's always invited to potluck by somebody other than me, by this team. Her experience here changed in so many beautiful ways what was happening here at Richardson. It's not that we didn't have great people already doing this job. We just didn't have enough. It's such a big place. We just needed more people. Antoine, I was here this Sabbath. Antoine and his mom, I think her name's Sheila, came through our doors, and I got a blue communications card on them, and I started writing notes. It was an older lady, her adult son, and some grandchildren. Here's what their names, here's what their phone numbers are. That was not very long ago. How long has Antoine been here? Maybe 3 months, maybe 2 months. Antoine is already part of the security team, and he's already helping in the PA booth, audio-visual booth. Just because we got his contact information, we were able to make connections. The pastors called him. They're now here. He's here most every Sabbath, and he's already serving in 2 different ministries. That is the power of a blue communications card. And finally, Nuha. Nuha is, I don't know how many of you have met, some of you have met Nuha. She's come to your Sabbath school class. Little short lady, I think she's either from Iran or Iraq. She came in really early in the morning. This is really a testimony to being here at 8:45. I think she got even here maybe before 8:45. She was through the doors before anybody could greet her. And she was sitting in the back of the sanctuary. And fortunately, another Adventist couple spoke to her and then came and sidled over to me and said, "This lady's in the back and she's brand new. Can you go say hi to her?" So I went back and talked to her and got to know her. Come to find out, she's been watching 3ABN. She's a Sunday keeping Christian. This was her first Sabbath ever. Walking through our doors. Can you imagine? Her first Sabbath ever, and she's welcomed. She's taken to the new member class. I took her to Steve Boyd's class that day. And then the next Sabbath, I thought that maybe she'd be a good fit in the class John and Sharon go to, and that they would just love on her. And Grace took her under her wing. And now Pastor Byron and I are doing Bible studies with her on Tuesdays. Brand new baby Adventist, just fledgling. Well, not even an Adventist yet, but on her way. And she was drawn by the truth of the Sabbath through nothing that we did here at Richardson. She came through our doors. She sought out us. Now, how are we going to treat people like that? They need to be seen and noticed and spoken to and honored and loved on and helped and directed and seated and treated and fed. That's what they need. And we are the front lines of that. And I have to tell you, this ministry is more important than we give it credence for. It's just sometimes we think it's just handing out bulletins at the front door. It is not handing out bulletins at the front door. It is being God's eyes and arms and hands and voice of love for people who are coming in out of the cold or coming in out of the dark. And just this morning, this very morning, Patrick was there. Patrick and please be sure and thank the people. These are former greeters, by the way, or former hosts that are hosting for us today so we can be in here. Please thank them when you see them. We've got Carmen. We had Jason for first service. Patrick met somebody new this morning. He said, "Costa, is there somebody brand new?" Her name's Carol. She's here with her 2 children. I took them to their Sabbath school class. I didn't get to get her blue communications card as I set her in the sanctuary, so then I kind of followed her. She's probably thinking I'm stalking her. But I followed her, took her to her Sabbath school classroom, took her to the new member class. They're loving on her there. She is a Sunday keeping Christian, and today is the first day she's ever walked through a Sabbath keeping door. And here's what floors me. God is trusting us with these people. We do not deserve it. But you know what? It's a testimony to what you are doing, that God is trusting us with these new baby fledgling Seventh-day Adventist Christians. We must be doing something right. And I give him all the credit and all the glory. And I want to do it righter. And I want to do it more systematically. And I want to do it with more passion. And I just need you to be in your place. And I need you to be on fire. And I need you to be observant. I need you to watch for risks. I need you to get those blue communication cards and drop them in the mailbox by Sven's office. We can do this. I don't want anybody to fall through the cracks. And if they fall through the cracks the first Sabbath, I want you to find them by the second Sabbath, that they come back. It's really an important job. And that just puts me on my last slide here. I am so grateful for you. I couldn't do it all. John couldn't do it all. Sarah couldn't do it all. The people that have been greeting here for years, they couldn't do it all. They need lots of us. We need fresh blood. We need lots of eyes and arms and hands and voices. So thank you so much for coming to this training. I honor each of you. You're making a difference for God's kingdom, and you're so special. You're serving your master in a really real way. Watch for an updated schedule to come through, because I'm hoping to talk to some of you who may be interested in this ministry. Now,